right, live stream is started. Phone is recording. And we're looking real good. We're looking real good. We're looking real good. Test. We are just doing one more little test here, guys. Just be patient if you can. Really appreciate your patience in this test here, guys. Just be patient if you can. Really appreciate your patience in this test here, guys. Just be patient. All right. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, everybody. Pure bioelectrical plant-based colloidal trace minerals. Bioelectrical, meaning we're going to do an experiment with a light bulb on our next video. So if you're here now, you want to subscribe, follow, friend, whatever social media this is going to be on, we are going to show you the bioelectricity of pure, plant-based, vegan-friendly trace minerals. It's going to be incredible. Got Dr. Whiting here, and I really want to get into it. I want to discuss how it's electric. I want to discuss the experiment we're going to do. It's so exciting. The body has electric currents running through it. What does that actually mean, and what does that mean to the trace minerals?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that all living things are bioelectrical.
All living things.
Plants, animals.
Plants too, yeah.
Yes. And for optimal well-being, we should have what's called a complete circuit. Well, the human body generates about 1.5 volts of electricity. And that electricity is used to basically operate your heart, your nervous system, your brain. It is responsible for cell division. Without that electrical circuitry or potential, basically you'd be dead in a very short period of time. And you have to understand, like when your phone battery goes low, what do? You just plug it in the wall. Well, we don't have cords and outlets. So where does the human body get its electrical charge from? It gets it from the interaction of minerals across an aqueous media, or what that basically means is minerals in solution in water. And the exchange between them, for example, opposites with opposites, calcium, magnesium,
calcium and magnesium are part of that bioelectrical?
Yeah, they're electrolytes.
Okay.
And so the opposite nature of them produces the electrical charge. Sodium and potassium is another opposite electrolyte system that is generating electricity. And in order for these major minerals to do that, to do their job, they need the support and catalytic factors with bioelectrical micro trace minerals. So there are about 55, 56 micro trace minerals, and those are needed and found in the body, hopefully, in very micro amounts, because they're not needed in high amounts. And that, in a way, is their problem, because when you have something that's present in such a small amount, a deficiency in it can create a serious deficiency, because we're not talking about much material.
Yeah, so it's like a roll of dominoes.
And that's exactly what happens. Just keep in mind that bioelectrical trace minerals, and the best source would be organic, which would mean from plants, are necessary for the formation of vitamins. They're necessary for the interaction of major minerals to create the bioelectrical circuitry that the body requires and depends on. And so, sadly, these bioelectrical organic trace minerals are oftentimes the most deficient in the diet.
Because they're completely absent from the diet.
The food that we consume is being raised on farmlands that have been depleted of these minerals for decades.
Yeah. And so the only option is to supplement with a good plant-based trace mineral formula, because you'd have to completely change your diet to get this out of fruits and vegetables, right?
Well, and even then, it may not be possible to optimal levels. If you've got a carrot that has virtually none of these microelements.
Yeah.
Well, if you ate one carrot, you get none. If you eat 12 carrots, you still get none.
Okay.
Because
it's not in the carrot.
1 times 12 is still none. So
because it's the farming techniques that have been
is not in the soil anymore.
Yeah.
And can the body function without these, or with a very deficient amount? Yes, but can it function efficiently and optimally? No.
Yeah. What the bioelectrical plant-based colloidal minerals? What do the minerals do?
Well, they're mostly catalysts, and that means a catalyst is something in chemistry that causes something else to happen.
Got it.
So without a catalyst, that something
it's like
else
a helper
can't happen.
Got it.
And so when you're talking about the catalytic effect across the board, it's probably in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions.
Wow. And so why are the minerals, we kind of talked about it, but they're virtually absent from the diet completely because of the farming that only puts the certain minerals back in, which is called the NPK?
Yeah, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium or potash. Those are the minerals that are necessary for high yield, and that's the only thing the farmer's interested in.
Yeah. And so because of that, there's no micro trace minerals left. The only way to do it is to supplement.
It's the only way that I know of. Unless, of course, you're going to raise all your own food at home.
Yeah.
In soils that you have embellished with micro trace elements. The only other way is through supplementation.
And there's somebody in the chat, hey, Mr. H, somebody's saying is there copper and in best trace mineral too?
Yes.
There is, okay.
Copper is an essential trace mineral. It is involved in calcium absorption. And yes, you will find ionic copper among the ingredients of best trace mineral.
So copper should be a part of any plant-based trace mineral formula. It's automatically going to be in there.
Well, this is the thing about if you're leaching or distilling plant-based material, humic material, that's going to leach out all of the minerals in the same ratio that nature put them in there in the first place.
And so somebody watching the live stream says, I think that there's a problem with absorption when it comes to these minerals. And that's kind of true, right?
Well, if they're plant-based and they're colloids, colloids refer to the particle size.
Yeah.
Colloids are so small they'll pass through membranes. And the size of the particle increases the absorption dramatically. If they're plant-based and not inorganic, you're going to have much higher absorption because of the cationic-anionic attraction between one. The human body is cationic. The minerals, if they're anionic, they're going to be attract because opposites attract magnetically.
And so that's why we're going to do, when we do the experiment with the light bulb,
It's fascinating.
that's why the minerals, we're going to pour it in a glass and it's going to light the light bulb up.
I can show you how these bioelectrical trace minerals can actually power a light bulb.
Wow. That's going to be so interesting. Make sure to follow and subscribe, like wherever you're watching this, because we're going to do this experiment probably tomorrow. It's going to be very, very exciting. Next up, I want to talk about boron, bone loss, and bone health. The National Institutes of Health say that boron plays an important role in the development of regeneration of bone tissue. What is boron?
Boron is a microtrace element.
Okay.
And it is one of several necessary for calcium uptake at the cellular level. Now, so it doesn't matter if you take a calcium supplement and you're not absorbing it at the cellular level, that's not doing you much good.
And that, what you're getting to the point of, is that it needs its cofactors.
It needs cofactors and catalysts. So boron is one of the major cofactors, as is magnesium, copper, and zinc.
Got it.
And if you're taking a good multivitamin, a good full spectrum supplement,
With all those in it.
those should be in there already.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get a calcium magnesium formula with added additions of those trace elements as well.
And talk a little bit about how boron is responsible to kind of assist calcium and magnesium absorption.
Well, again, trace minerals are catalysts. So what that means is they allow something else to happen. Their presence in the chemistry equation allows other things to happen. So you can imagine that boron, manganese, copper, and zinc, those are the main ones, those four. You can imagine that each one of those is wheels on a little red wagon. Okay? And what that wagon is doing when they're all present is they're carrying the calcium ions back to bone tissue. So they're regenerating bone tissue.
Okay. And so what if you don't have one wheel?
Then you don't get there as quick.
So you're saying that a calcium magnesium supplement should have boron in it then?
It should have boron in it at the very least, yes.
Okay. And are there any other trace minerals that should be added to a calcium magnesium supplement?
Well, yes, manganese, copper, and zinc.
Okay.
I'm surprised this question hasn't popped up yet. There is a trace mineral called strontium.
Strontium.
Now, we used to put strontium in our calcium supplements. Lots of people did. And then, all of a sudden, further research in the last 4 or 5 years have shown us that strontium should not be taken with calcium and magnesium at the same time.
Wow. So this is brand new, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, they counteract each other.
Oh.
When taken at the same time. So basically, if someone has moderate to severe osteoporosis and needs all the help they can get to rebuild bone tissue, they should take a good calcium magnesium supplement that's chelated with several different chelates. They should take a full spectrum supplement with all the trace minerals, and they should take a separate strontium supplement at a different time of the day. Because clinical studies have shown that the presence of strontium can increase the return of calcium to bone as much as 8 or 10-fold.
If it's taken separately.
If it's taken separately, several hours apart.
And so boron is in the products like from Phoenix Nutritionals at phoenixvitamins.com. There's boron in the best trace mineral, high vitality liquid, and in the natural calcium support.
And in the capsules.
Wow. That's incredible.
So
it's in high vitality capsules too. Wow. How about trace minerals and major mineral absorption? What are trace minerals for in the layman's terms to make it as easy as possible to understand?
They're helpers.
Okay.
They do provide some what we call elemental or physical benefits, but their main role is at what we call catalysts or helpers. They are needed to create the pathways for other chemical reactions to take place.
Got it. Yeah, and that's what you were saying. They're the catalyst.
They're helpers, yeah.
So what would you say that supplementation should begin with trace minerals, but not end there?
Absolutely.
Because you need the full spectrum with the trace minerals.
Yep. And remember that the trace elements are the largest group of nutrients. There's at least 55, at least. And some of them you would recognize by name, most of them you would not. Because they're just, unless you're a chemistry student. I mean, if you have a chart with a periodic table of the elements, they'd all be on there. But most people have never even seen one, at least not since high school. But they're all playing catalyst roles in various chemical equations. And because of that, I believe they should be the foundation of a good nutrition program. For example, vitamins do all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
A whole list of things that vitamins do, their function. At least half of those cannot efficiently take place without catalysts of trace minerals. So you can pop a vitamin pill, but unless you're getting the trace elements either with it or separately, you're not going to get the maximum benefit from the vitamin supplement. Yeah. Because the catalysts or those helpers that are required to do that job are missing.
And that's the problem with incomplete multivitamin formulas.
That's the biggest problem. I mean, if you can imagine a chemical equation, if you go back to your school days, all those funny little letters and lines and more letters.
Yeah.
If you just pull one letter out, you've got a problem. And that one letter might be strontium in the case of calcium. It might be aluminum. Here's one. That's one nobody talks about. Everybody talks about
every time
aluminum.
you hear aluminum, you hear negative.
Oh, panic, you know, because it's toxic. Organic aluminum is not only not toxic, but it has biological benefit. It helps with the immune function.
Yeah.
But it's got to be from plant sources because the plant changes the structure of these minerals from elemental to bioavailable.
That's super interesting. So somebody who wants to embark on this, they need to look for a plant-based, pure colloidal trace mineral is the best place to start.
Yep. You want to have it from organic sources. You obviously want to have it colloidal. Colloidal refers to the particle size.
Small.
And keep in mind, the smaller, this is a weird thing, but the smaller the particle, the smaller the object, the greater the surface around it. And you would think it would be the opposite. Obviously something large would have a greater surface. But I'll show you an example. Let's take a basketball, okay? And you measure the surface all around the basketball, and you come up with a figure.
No.
Now let's fill that basketball to the brim with marbles.
Okay.
Now let's measure the surface around each marble times 300 marbles.
Oh, I see.
So the smaller the particle, the greater the surface. The greater the surface, the more absorption you get at the cellular level.
Boom. The hidden benefits of probiotics. Most people are aware that taking a good probiotic can help with digestion and elimination. But there are many other benefits of probiotics. For example, what we've been hearing in the news lately, a lot actually for the last couple years on and off, I think even like 4 or 5 years on and off. Explain the brain-gut connection.
Well, There are lots of things that go on in your gut or your intestines that most people don't consider. We think of digestion, absorption, elimination, processing of food, processing of waste matter, but there's a lot more going on in there. And the beneficial bacteria that should reside in the intestines is responsible for your immune system. It's responsible for the stress response cycle in the brain. It's responsible for accelerating healing. So there are so many things that beneficial bacteria play a role in. And the problem that we have is that the standard American diet is comprised almost 100% of dead, lifeless food.
Yeah.
Everything is overcooked, beaten, canned, frozen, whipped, dehydrated, overheated. And the life of the food that we call it, the life part, which is the beneficial bacteria, is virtually all destroyed. And this is the reason why we have a nation full of bowel disturbances, constipation alternating with diarrhea. This is why we have people suffering from irritable bowel syndrome. This
obesity.
Is why, obesity, because they're not processing the food properly. So there's a whole lot of things that beneficial bacteria are responsible for. Where can you get it? You can get it from fresh fruits and vegetables, which most people don't eat very much of.
Yeah.
You can get it from fermented foods like yogurt, cheeses, sauerkraut.
What's the latest thing that everyone's into? Kombucha or something like that?
Yeah, there's some good sources of probiotics. But again, how many of you honestly consume those types of foods
every day
on a regular basis?
Yeah.
I mean, for so many people, the idea of balanced diet is a small salad at dinner.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the only living thing they've eaten all day. And that doesn't work. I mean, there's a reason why we have an epidemic of gut crisis.
And that kind of, it leads to inflammation, right? That's what we're kind of getting at.
Because when the gut doesn't have adequate bacteria, it imbalances the chemistry, it imbalances the pH of the gut, it swings it to more acidic, which it shouldn't be, and the end result is irritation. Irritation produces inflammation, and then we get that swollen gut business that so many people complain about.
How do probiotics help the body deal with stress? Is there a connection?
There is. Beneficial bacteria can help to modulate certain hormones, one of which is cortisol. And cortisol is the number one stress hormone. And cortisol is the number one pro-inflammatory agent. So anything that can help,
usually the cortisol is around the stomach area.
Yeah, if someone has weight gain from excess stress or excess cortisol, they'll almost exclusively gain it around the midsection and nowhere else. That's where cortisol deposits triglycerides. So by having adequate beneficial bacteria in the gut, it can help to control the production of cortisol from the adrenal glands.
And how can somebody choose, because there are so many, how can somebody choose a good probiotic supplement when they go to the health food store or the drugstore and there's 30 to 40, 50 different kinds?
Well, it used to be that the good old food industry, the dietetics industry, said that the only viable probiotic is acidophilus.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the only one you can count. You can put all that other crap in there, according to them, and that's fine, but you can't count it. You can't put it on the label. You can only put acidophilus. Today we know that was 110,000% wrong. The body utilizes a variety of beneficial bacteria. So when you're shopping for a good probiotic, look at the label. The label should tell you what sources of bacteria have been included. And you want the one with the most possible, because the greater the variety, the greater the potential benefit to your gut lining.
That's super fascinating. And it's kind of good that mainstream media, in my opinion, has really picked up on the brain gut health connection of probiotics, because they're actually picking up a story that can actually benefit a lot of people.
Well, I think it makes people aware of the fact that probiotics are not just for digestion only.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you subscribe, like, and stay tuned, because we're going to do the experiment probably tomorrow or the next day, and we are going to use the trace minerals to light a light bulb. So stay tuned for that. Like, follow, subscribe from wherever you're watching this at, and we will see you next time.